Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. There's an urgency to our message here about the problems in air traffic control, and the found problem may be causing all these accidents and plane crashes tragically in the last year, I should say, last several months. But we have someone checked in 312 said, man, I'm getting on a plane in 2 minutes. What do I do? Well, this is very interesting because when we give you this information, and thanks for listening on the app on your phone, the Q101 app or iHeartRadio, very easy to keep us with you. And the podcast would delay this, of course, if you listen to it later.
That'd be bad.
No, he knows about it now.
Give him the information, Brian.
Okay, let's not delay anything.
They're on the playlist of the podcast like, man, I should have got it on this plane.
All right, here we go. And share it with the plane. Stand up and yell this to everybody when you get this information at O'Hare, Midway, wherever you are. Here it is. The FAA is finally replacing floppy disks and Windows 95
Oh, my God.
in air traffic control systems. They're on
What's
Windows.
a floppy disk?
You don't even know. Isn't that amazing?
I've heard of it. Obviously, the plot of the first Mission Impossible, which I reviewed a few weeks ago, is based around a floppy disk. I don't understand what they are.
I have to
That
go.
sounds like a sport. I thought it was like a frisbee.
So back in the day,
Oh, boy.
kids sat around the campfire here.
God.
Back in the day.
Oh, God.
So back in the day, computers didn't actually have enough hard drive space. Hard drives weren't terabytes. They weren't hundreds of gigs. And you could store things on floppy disks. They were like...
They were actually like floppy?
Yes, they were... I want to kind of describe them as a floppy 45 album, but that even sounds old.
Well, that makes it sound older. That's even more dated technology.
And so there's a movie that Case needs to watch. I don't know if you've ever seen it, Kenzie, because we talk about AI a lot here on the show, is the War Games with Matthew Broderick.
I love Matthew Broderick.
An incredible movie that I'm not going to get in the plot of right now, but there's something involving hacking. But floppy disks are part of that where you could put programs on them because computers couldn't hold all that stuff. They couldn't hold programs, and they weren't even as big as they are now. Programs didn't take up that much space, but still, you put it in the computer. It slid in a slot, and then whatever you slid that into, then that would come up in your computer. You could use it, a program. I hope I'm describing this right. The tech guys are probably going like, this guy's an idiot, but that's basically what it is. If you want to describe it better, you can call up.
So it's like a hard drive?
It's a disk that holds data. Like a hard drive, but hard drives weren't big back then. And then they had these things called hard disks. They were just harder disks that went in and out, too.
Like CDs?
They weren't CDs. They were like a plastic thingy, but there was like a little CD in it. So it had like a casing on it. I still have some of these laying around in some tote somewhere.
I don't understand how the floppy disk got in the computer if it was
Thank
floppy.
you. I don't know. Were you throwing it at the screen?
Because I don't want to bring like sex organs into this, but if something is softer, it typically is harder to do the thing.
It's not
since the beginning of time.
Since man was created.
It's not completely flaccid disk. It's
You're right. It's floppy, not flaccid. That's a different product.
So it has some stiffness to it. Not to stay on this theme. But
What you put it like where you put like games, like you put it in that area.
There was a slot on old computers that you'd put the floppy disk into. So there was like a video game console.
So there was a slot solely, the only purpose was for a floppy disk.
I bet we have computers here that have a floppy disk slot in them somewhere.
I'm sure we do. Steve Pacheco, if you're
Why
here.
didn't they just make it hard to begin with? It sounds like more difficult.
I think making it floppy, and again, I'd like a tech, I don't know. I think making it floppy made it so it wouldn't break, and you'd put it in this kind of holder to hold all your floppy disks.
I'm imagining a rubber dog toy that you just whip.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
It was very thin plastic, a floppy disk. You could also, you could maybe Google it to get an idea of what it was. And then there was, the computers used to have this slot you put it in.
Okay.
Yeah. So they weren't completely flaccid. They were somewhat
you're telling
stiff.
me air traffic control was using these?
Now. They were still using them now. I haven't seen a floppy disk in, I don't know, 20 years maybe? I don't know when the last time one was.
What info are they putting on there? Like flight landed? Like what is going on a floppy disk?
It essentially probably ran programs. The head of the agency wants to replace the archaic systems with something that belongs in the 21st century. This is a quote from the FAA. The whole idea is to replace the system. No more floppy disks or paper strips, he said, which probably set off shockwaves when he said floppy disks. He said over a third of the nation's air traffic control systems are unsustainable and starting to fail. And many of it because allegedly they're still using 90s technology, floppy disks.
That seems very dangerous.
So to answer the question of that person that was just getting on a flight, said, what do I do? I wonder if they're still getting on that flight. You alert everybody on the plane. But I don't want you getting arrested.
They're using a floppy disk.
Possibly using that. So that will cost billions of dollars to upgrade.
Would think that would have been one of the first things to receive new technology is air traffic control.
If someone's going to get something, I'll pass on my new tech to give it to them.
You know, honestly, on a much less severe scale, because nobody could die with what we're doing, but people think that about radio stations all the time. Like, you must have the nicest technology, and we have the most outdated equipment usually.
Yeah.
And that happens in a lot of, like, radio stations and media companies, because the overhaul to pay to replace everything is so expensive that companies put it off until basically, like, we're like, so we can't be on air anymore. And they're like, oh, fine. Like, that's what ends up happening.
Here's more on the story that's going to make you more scared about flying.
Oh, good.
It's estimated that it will take 4 years and the cost of tens of billions of dollars to update from floppy disks in Windows 95. Sony made the last new floppy disk in 2011.
Oh.
14 years ago.
So what did they just buy, like Elaine from Seinfeld when she bought out her birth control? Like, did they just buy all the floppy disks?
Excellent analogy. That's probably what they did. They're being phased out in most businesses. But here's the even more scary part. Decades-old Windows 95 operating systems continue to run trains, probably here in Chicago, ATMs, elevators, and government systems around the world because the cost of new hardware is too much, and no one wants to buy new hardware. You want a new desktop computer? That's going
But these are
to
life or
accrue
death
in value.
Like, I understand why certain companies, I not understand, it's lame, but they're, like, super cheap about their, computers, like a traditional 9-to-5 job. They don't want to replace all the computers and all the printers and stuff. It's expensive. But these could lead to dangerous, like, death. Like, why would you do that?
We've seen some planes crash recently. It's not great.
Well, that's what Frank on the text line was like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think it's broke. I think we have to fix it.
Windows, I have a desktop at home that's actually 13 years old. Mm-hmm. And
Does it have Vista on it?
I'm trying to remember the operating system.
Because this was my thing, is Windows 95 is so scary, because if it was Windows XP, I'd be like, well, greatest operating software ever. Just leave it. Let's all go back to Windows XP. But if it's Vista, dude, that sucks.
Yeah. I think I still have Safari on. No, I have a Firefox still on as a browser.
Hey, 2009 called, Brian.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Might as well have
No wonder you have all these issues with people, like, hacking you.
Actually, people say the one good thing about it is having the older tech is harder to hack because they can't even
But
figure
I
out how
think
to.
Firefox was, like, discontinued because of that almost.
I loved Firefox. That computer just has this desktop corner unit that's kind of like,
I mean, the best logo, hands down. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
It's just my nostalgia computer. I still have that going on.
You have a nostalgic computer.
Yeah.
You have the ESPN front page from like 2007 pulled up. It just makes you feel good.
Oh, God.
When I added that Sony hasn't made a floppy disk since 2011, Lizette texted in and said, effing Brian, LOL, there's more.
You're like the Billy Mays of bad news.
Yeah. This is terrifying. Paul checked in and said, so my flight is running a disk that uses the Oregon Trail.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. This is, it is insane. And somebody's saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. No, this is the exact scenario in which you don't wait for it to break because people will die. Like, this is your responsibility to make sure you're updated and streamlined. Like, this isn't a normal situation of, like, oh, I ran my computer into the ground. That's not good. You can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, it is one thing to say, it's not broke, don't fix it. Maybe a mixer in your kitchen, not something that's got lives on its hands.
Yeah, not air traffic control is not let's run it into the ground until it all explodes. Not good.
Now, Brandon checked in and said, Firefox is amazing. Still use it. Chrome effing sucks.
All right, well, let's settle down.
But that leads to a question we could ask you right now is, what old tech are you holding on to? What old tech are you just like, I have that desktop
So yours
computer.
is Firefox.
It actually, that's not what I was thinking of. For me, it's still having really big terabyte external drives. I don't trust the cloud.
Oh, my God.
I don't trust it. I'm on it.
You can't have all your wife's nudes up in the sky.
How can I have that? Can't handle that.
Although I feel like those are important for people who like photographers and stuff like that do have huge like backup hard drives. Somebody like way beyond, like who needs way more storage than the average person.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff to store. And
I don't know why you have it.
What do you have?
I have pretty much.
All your porn is printed. So what do you have?
How dare you assume all my porn is only printed?
You have crates of Playboy. What are you?
How dare you assume
How
that?
could there be more porn?
Believe it or not,
But wait.
I don't mean to shock you, but if you just pay $9.99 right now, you can get more of my digital porn. It's all there for you.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
Q101.
Head to headlines coming up at 8:20. The funniest headlines of the week. You decide what story we talk about. You decide the content of the show. Brian and Kenzie on Q101, and we just kind of broke this news that scared people out there that the FAA, this is a report saying that they are finally going to replace floppy disks and Windows 95 and air traffic control systems. I'm not even sure when I say Windows 95, people know what that is. Obviously you're looking at 90s, the platform that was Windows then, and some people's computers might still, like you said, Vista might still be on people's computers. What was after Vista?
Oh, God, I should know this. I used to be really into this.
I used to be into it.
What does that even mean? What do you mean you used to be into it?
Used to be in the operating system.
Yeah, I was always curious. Maybe it was Windows 8. I don't know. All I know is that Windows 95
Why would
is
this
so
go in
old.
order? Why wasn't it like Windows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? Like,
Because they had to be clever, make
Yeah.
funny names for them.
but like we should be able to easily tell what's next. It should have just been the next number.
Well, that's big government. That's big computer trying to confuse you.
Big tech, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what I'm not into.
Big tech.
Yeah, I don't really care.
Windows 95 is so old that when it was introduced at the Microsoft shareholder meeting, like the big presentation, they had
How old is it?
they had the cast of Friends be like, "Hey, we're on TV. Check out this computer."
Wow.
That's how old it is.
That's amazing.
Well, wasn't it made in 95?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my point. We're agreeing with each other.
What old tech are you still holding on to? Tracy is checking in. Ahoy, Tracy. What's up?
Hello?
Yes. What old tech are you holding on to?
Like I explained, we have two. We have two DVD players, and we still have over almost 400 DVDs.
That's badass.
Because, we have every streaming service, but then, hey, we want to watch this movie? It's not on anything. Guess what? We have the DVD for it.
Boom.
Boom.
Second thing, my boyfriend has an Xbox 360. It's over 15 years old. He's brought it back from the Ring of Death twice, and it's still working.
How?
He is, you know what? I don't know this whole situation, but he is not a big tech guy. He got the parts, looked it up on YouTube twice, and did it.
Kenzie, do you know what the Red Ring of Death is for Xboxes?
No.
Oh, boy.
I've never had an Xbox.
You can go through a wormhole on the Reddit threads on
Yeah,
that.
they say it's almost impossible to fix, but he fixed it twice.
When does it happen? Like if you dump water on it on accident or something? Like when does it happen?
It burns out. You use it too much, and eventually it just burns out. And there's a circle red ring, and that's like, okay, it's done. And he's like, no, it's not. I'm going to figure it out.
Imagine, Kenzie, you're looking.
I don't have $500 to get a new one, so we're going to fix this.
Imagine you're looking forward to playing some Halo, and you get home, you turn it on, that red ring showed up. It's the most disappointing thing in life when it
It's
happened.
the most disappointing thing that had happened.
I stand by that statement.
Number one with a bullet.
I stand by that statement. Dude, there's nothing more disappointing than that, and it might take years to get over it when the Red Ring of Death showed up on your Xbox.
Does that happen to you?
Oh, yes, it did.
That's what cured his addiction.
I was so addicted that when that happened, I decided to move on from gaming. I had to retire because I was pretty good then. I was a pretty badass at Halo.
Is there any conspiracy theory that they just do that so you have to buy the new one? That it's on purpose?
Get on some Reddit threads, Kenzie.
I bet.
You will see all the conspiracy. There's a
Because that
person.
sounds like on purpose AF to me.
There's a person in a satellite that's over the earth right now that controls that and takes out different Xboxes at different times. I've gone down it. Yep. I believe some of them. Thank you so much, Tracy, for checking in. On the text line, in case you see any more here that are just entertaining. On old tech you're holding on to, someone mentioned the Zune player.
That Aaron on the text line is still watching movies on his Zune. What movies?
Now, the Zune player was to compete with the iPod.
Yes.
And it came out, actually, it was better than the iPod when it came out. Microsoft made it to compete with Apple, but it's been discontinued for 13 years. and he's watching movies on that little screen of the Zune player.
And nothing.
I'm not able to tell if we're talking about old tech or new tech because I've never heard of any of this stuff. It was very confusing.
Oh, man.
224 checked in on the text line. They texted in saying this, which is blowing my mind, that they're still using a flip phone.
Oh,
We
boy.
have people texting the show on a flip phone?
Now, you know
Can you
what?
imagine how long it took them to hit like the F, the L?
Which is very funny because The Departed was on last night on
Probably
USA or
AMC,
something.
yeah.
And while they were texting in their pockets on the flip phones, so they didn't look at it even. I used to be able to do that. Speaking of which, we had a 708 check, and I still have my Nextel Motorola cell phone where you went the little walkie-talkie. I always wanted to. You ever know what those are?
I don't think so.
So it was Sprint, which is gone now. I can't remember who. I think
T-Mobile.
gobbled up Sprint.
Yeah.
And it had a button on the side. And so you could, instead of using, because back then you had to pay for minutes.
Oh, my God.
Well, how can you tell like how long it took to send a text?
You had limited texts, too. You had about 100 texts for the month.
But the minutes were for the calls right now.
The minutes were for the
They weren't
calls.
timing your texts.
Oh my God, like how stressful would it be? A bomb counting down trying to spell out a word.
This is why people were happier then, because you couldn't text all day. And you couldn't talk all day either. But the Nextel took it next level. We hit that little button on the side. You could talk to your friends on the walkie-talkie part of the phone. You're like, it always made the little sound. It looked so cool at bars. People did it. I was like, I want one of those.
But was it like the equivalent of a voice memo now?
It was live walkie-talkie through your phone. So if you were at
But
home,
where were they?
anywhere, you could be at home and I could be at the bar and I go,
So
Case,
you
what
would
are you
just
doing?
hear the whole conversation out loud?
Yeah,
like
it
a
was
walkie.
That seems so inconvenient.
That seems like very frustrating for everybody else.
But it was modern because it superseded I only have 100 texts to send this month and 100 minutes to use. Think about that.
100 texts to send in a
Why
month.
didn't you just get a walkie-talkie?
Well, because this used cell phone technology to go further than a walkie-talkie, but it was a walkie-talkie essentially, the Nextel. Oh, I wanted a Nextel.
So you couldn't like really talk though, because you'd be doing it in front of everybody would hear what the person
No,
said.
you wouldn't believe, Kenzie, if you got on a red line train and people were on their Nextels, no one cared what the conversation was being heard. People talked all the time
I'm too
out loud.
nosy for that. I would have never gotten anything done. I would have been up in everybody's business.
Josh just texted in, this is so accurate to that. Unlimited phone minutes after 9 and weekends. After 9 p.m. and weekends, you got unlimited minutes.
Why? That's when you spend the most time talking to people. You think they would charge more then?
But they figured that they were going to take care of you then. That's how they get you, like drug dealers.
So did weekends count Friday? 'Cause you know how it
What a
feels like a
great
weekend?
question. Yeah.
9 p.m. it started the weekend on Friday.
Okay, and then Saturday and Sunday was unlimited.
Yep.
But then what about a long weekend? Like if you had President's Day on a
Oh,
Monday?
right. Did you get them men?
I'm glad I can answer all these questions today.
I don't understand how this works.
Well, I remember a lot of this vividly, but I might need someone that worked for the company to remind me that if it was a Memorial Day weekend, did they add on Memorial Day?
if the CEO of Sprint could call in, that'd be great.
Brian and Kenzie.
On Q 101.
Brian and Kenzie.
On Q 101.
Well, it's 8:20 on Wednesday. We will get to headlines in a second, but we broke the news that the FAA has announced that they're going to need to spend billions of dollars. It might take 4 years to finally upgrade from floppy disks and Windows 95 and air traffic control systems. The last floppy disk was made by Sony in 2011. This is what's controlling the skies. Some people have defended it, saying the older tech is harder to hack. That's why sometimes the train systems still use this stuff.
But we had a huge system hacking. Remember when, like, 2 years ago?
Yep. Remember
Remember
that?
that?
Yep.
Okay.
Probably
Well, I
some,
don't know.
probably
Just an
some,
idea.
probably some hacker with a floppy disk.
Yeah.
That's how he went in the system. Now we have some answers to some of the questions that were put out there. First off, let's see here. 708 checked in and said, "I have passed away." Case and Kenzie not knowing the amazingness of the Nextel chirp. That's what I was describing with the walkie-talkie, the little. And another person checked in and said it's very similar to just FaceTiming today. You just couldn't see them. You talked to them on that walkie-talkie, but people have no problem FaceTiming on the train or out in public, a private conversation, which is what you asked
But,
about,
like,
Kenzie.
usually, I'm not a fan of people doing the speakerphone, no headphone talk. But I feel like a lot of times people have headphones, so you don't hear the other. You just hear the person every once in a while.
True. But people were just as rude back then as they are now, using FaceTiming or talking in public on a
Right.
speakerphone.
yeah, but those
Fair.
people they should be in jail.
Well, that's for society to decide.
The judges and jurors
Not
of
us,
society.
not us here today.
Okay.
Also, we got an answer on the weekends and nights free minutes on the phone when you had a limited amount of minutes on your phone. and we were talking about Sprint. 773 checked in. My brother worked at Nextel. Holidays weren't free. Oh. So those nights and weekends, if it was Memorial Day weekend, you still had to pay for your minute or use up your minutes on those days. Got that asked and answered.
How did they know what time it was?
What do you mean?
So it was nighttime is when it was free. How do they know? How do they know when it was night?
What are you asking? How does the phone company
know
how does the company know?
How do they not know what time it is? Kenzie.
How do they know when I'm sending a text at night?
You knew your phone has a time on it.
Okay, all right. That's all I wanted to know.
They looked at the clock. There's all cases texting somebody. Let's take one of those away.
There was somebody in your room. When you bought a cell phone, a whole person came with it. They said your room.
Do you understand what I'm asking?
No, you think you know time better than the phone company?
I made no such allegation, Your Honor.
Sounds like
all
it.
I was saying was at some point, so at 8:59, I get charged an arm and a leg to send a text message. At 9 o'clock, it's free. How does the company know it's 9 o'clock when I'm the one texting?
Because it's
on
your phone with a time
It's like a phone record.
Okay, all right, phone record.
The company could pull your phone records and see everybody you've called and texted right now.
And they have a clock. I mean,
the clock on your phone.
The program probably said when it hits 9, it's free now. You can text away.
Now I know.
And I can't tell you how often you would wait to text somebody. At 7 o'clock, crap, I can't talk to them right now. I got to wait 2 hours. Because I'm almost out of my minutes.
As a guy, can I ask a question? You don't like how guys definitely want to come across like they got money, they're doing well, they want to look that way. Were you ever like, if she's gonna know I'm a brokey because I have to wait till 9 to text her? Like, was that stressful because you're gonna look broke?
You made a lot of excuses not to text earlier for that reason.
Like for real?
Yeah.
Honestly.
100%. 100%.
Because you're like, sorry, I was at work, because you couldn't be like, I had to wait till 9 because I don't have any money.
Well, it wasn't said that way, but yes, in your head it was. I don't have any money, so I can't text you till 9.
Like, you'd have to know, say a guy, was at the club, he's, rich, and then it's like, he will only text me after 9. I know he doesn't actually have money. You know?
But the best thing you could do back then, which you can't do too often today, you can do a little bit today, but I don't have good cell service. I'm not in a good cell area. Most of the time, you're in a good cell area, I think, today, right?
I'd hope so.
I can remember there was a specific spot.
You have to literally be, in the jungle. I'm like, okay, it's fine. You're in Peru at Machu Picchu. I get it.
I can tell you that the Cicero exit on 55, Sprint would always go out there if I was driving. I'd be pulling up, driving that way, and I'd go, okay, I'm going to lose you in a second because I'm almost at the Cicero exit. And it was like clockwork. Sprint, they had some kind of weird cell area there where it would just drop.
Huh.
I knew what exits the phone would drop at.
Wow.
Yeah,
and that wasn't that long ago.
Nope.
That sounds like Lewis and Clark time.
Yeah, the plane just went up. The Wright brothers just got that plane up. And then, there we go. A couple more texts I have to read here about this old tech you're hanging on to. Jay checked in. I still have my Sega Genesis with Sonic on it.
Good for you.
Michael says, my dad had a Nextel phone and spent all his calls with his buddies on the walkie-talkie mode at the house. Staying with that, a guy named Gus checked in. This has to be a Gus. Hey, it's Gus from Gage Park, man. Some old tech I'm holding on to is my 96 Ford Bronco. Motor won't blow up like everyone's 2024 car nowadays. Love you, Gus.
Settle down, Gus. We didn't make any accusations.
Also,
That's what I'm scared of. I know my car's just going to randomly blow up.
Also, many people texted this. Back to the original conversation on the floppy disk on how you and Case did not know what a floppy disk looked like. It's the save icon. So when you go to save something on your computer now, even on a file, let's say Word or whatever. So go to Word.
Kenzie, you're pulling up Word.
Yeah. And then go to save.
I have Word.
It looks like she's playing an atom over there.
Also, I'm not sure it's still there, that save icon.
Everything auto saves now. We're past the point of saving.
I don't know if I have Microsoft Word.
Do you have Windows 95 over there?
I don't understand. I just went to File, so it's not just normal save.
What's normal save?
I went to File, Save, but there's no icon.
There's no
on my normal computer without Windows open.
There's no little square icon there?
No.
All right. I don't know what to tell you. All right, so it is Time for Head to Headlines. We'll move on from this wonderful conversation. Coming up after Fall Out Boy, 2 headlines, the funniest ones of the week. We've narrowed it down to 2 out of the hundreds. You decide the content of the show. You vote on the headline. We break down. We'll never talk about the other story again, so you got to get ready to choose wisely. So in the meantime, enjoy this Fall Out Boy song, Brian and Kenzie, Q101.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.